should never fight your feelings. When your very bones believe them, you should never fight your feelings. You have to follow nature's law. I'll live with never knowing if no one's
Kuzdzal. This is the intro to survival. Survival is obviously very difficult. It scares most people if they're in the situation. It's a very scary thing, but if you don't overthink it, you relax, and you take it step by step, you will survive. Before you go out into the wilderness, it's best to prepare. Preparation is the first key and the first step to survival. You should always carry water with you. Water is very important. You need it to survive, obviously. Sources of making fire, standard lighter, very important. Matches, I always carry 2 to 3 other, different methods of making fire, because, sooner or later, one will fail on you. This is going to run out of fluid. These could get wet, or if you have waterproof matches, you could lose them, or, something like that. A standard knife, very important. This could be one of your best survival tools. Probably one of the most important. You can do a lot with a knife. You can make a lot of things with it. You could gut animals, you could skin animals, you could, cut up the animal's meat, cut wood with it. You can do a lot with this. Honestly, it's one of your best tools you can carry. And, they're pretty easy to find. They sell them at almost every store. Some fishing hooks with line and sinkers. I just made that up myself. It just gives you a little easier method, so you don't have to make your own tackle up when you're out in the wilderness. It's helpful for you. This is a very, very good item you can carry, is a survival blanket. A survival blanket, it's a pretty big blanket, it should cover your whole body, and it's lined with this bright metallic-y exterior, which the purpose of this is it takes your body heat, because when it's pressed up against your skin, your body heat reflects against it and pushes back towards you, so it's supposed to keep you warmer. They're very good. They're very easy to find. Any sporting goods store will have one, any camping store. I really recommend them, and they will really help you if you're out in the wilderness. You should always carry a little bag of food. These are just peanuts. You don't want something that you're gonna want to eat like if you're hungry. You don't want to bring your favorite snack because you're gonna eat it. It's like shopping in a grocery store when you're hungry. So it's best to carry something that it's not your favorite snack. You'll eat it, but it's a better way to conserve food. You'll only eat a little bit of it at a time, because in the wilderness, calories are like money. You don't want to spend them all, but in a survival situation, usually your calorie intake is less than the energy that you're giving off or using. Clothing wise, bright clothing really helps. This is just a bandana. It's red. It can get somebody's attention. Obviously you want a hat if it's cold out, like the snow. Gloves. When you're dressing for cold, survival, you want to wear t-shirt, long sleeve over that, long sleeve over that, long sleeve over that, sweatshirt, maybe another shirt, like another fleece like this, or another sweatshirt, big jacket, long underwear, 2 pairs of pants. You want to wear layers, because the more clothing or the more layers, it's gonna keep your body heat in. If you get too hot, you can always take a layer off. It's just a lot better to wear layers. It's going to keep you warmer, going to help you survive. So like I said, survival, you have to take it in steps. So let's say you get lost, you got to sit down, you can't overthink it, you got to relax, you got to go, okay, I'm lost, what do I do now? Try to figure out general location where you are. Hopefully, in the preparation stage, you told somebody where you're going. That really does help, because then they know where to look for you. So, like I said, back to preparation. You need to tell someone where you're going. You need to bring all the essential equipment that you think you're going to need. But you need to sit down, relax, say, okay, this is my situation. Then your next step would be, explore. I would only go around 25 to 50 yards away from where you are, just so you don't get more disoriented. Look for, when you're looking around, look for animal signs, look for shelter. A lot of times you can find natural made shelters, meaning like a tree falls over and the roots are exposed. That's a great thing. You can really utilize that. I mean, you can put logs around it, to make a shelter. You spend less calories that way than just making one out of scratch. Sometimes you can find caves. I mean, you can really find anything. Big trees where the roots are exposed, with little shallow openings in them, and I mean, you can really use a lot that Mother Nature provides. And if you can't, find the driest spot you can find, and then you could probably build a lean-to. Usually if there's two trees with Ys in them, meaning the tree goes up and then there's two branches that split, put a piece of wood in between the two, and then put logs or sticks going vertical, and then you have yourself a lean-to. Now, the disadvantage to a lean-to is you're exposed on one side, meaning, you're blocked on one side from the elements, but the other side you're completely exposed. So, rain and whatever can affect you. So it's better to really, try to figure out which way the rain or the weather is going to come from. But like I said, if you can find an already built shelter by Mother Nature, you might as well utilize it, because you don't want to spend extra calories that you don't have to spend. Your next step would probably be to make a fire. Fire building is very tricky. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, believe me. So I learned, you need to find tinder. It's like dry grasses. Make sure you get a lot of wood before you start the fire, because you don't want to be rushing around looking for wood as the flames going in. You're trying to feed the fire, and you're wasting time. So light the tinder. Usually it's best to light it from the bottom of the tinder. Put it in a little ball. Then you start placing small sticks on it. And as the flame gets bigger and catches the small sticks, you put larger sticks on, and then eventually logs. And your next step would be to find food. Now, this is one of the most tricky parts of survival. Finding food. Obviously, if you're a hunter, you're going to have a rifle or a bow. Not everybody hunts. Not everybody gets lost when they're hunting. So, I would start with small streams. It's a great way to find food. I mean, lift up small rocks and, you're going to find salamanders, crayfish. I mean, they're great sources of protein. They're not huge, it's not like you kill like a deer, but, I mean, they're still fairly easy things to catch and eat. And they're going to give you a little bit of calories, and it's going to help you survive. The salamanders you can probably eat raw, same with the crayfish. I mean, if you have a fire, it really helps because you can cook it. It's going to taste a lot better. Purifying water, you want to boil the water. I wouldn't drink just from a random stream. You could get giardia or other microorganisms in your system. It's going to cause diarrhea and vomiting. And of course, the last step is getting rescued. That's where wearing bright clothing really does help, because, it helps get attention. I mean, this bandana, you can make multiple items out of it. I mean, you can make a flag with it. You could hang it up on a tree. Anything really. I mean, it's bright, it's going to get somebody's attention. Preparation, like I said, it really helps. If you tell someone where you're going, they're going to know where to look for you, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to get rescued. Smoke signals really help too. You put greenery or vegetation, live plants on a fire. The water inside will evaporate and cause a big white smoke to appear, or steam to appear from a fire. It's going to help the people looking for you spot you, because, they'll see the smoke and they'll go, oh, look over there. And basically, probably the largest part of survival is mental. As long as you're, as long as you say, okay, I can do this, take it step by step, you will survive, you won't die. You just got to take it step by step. Try to use, the least amount of energy possible. Think, don't overthink it. You gotta relax. Mental strength is really gonna help you, and you're gonna survive.
Hi, Cody Kuzdzal. Today, our next step in wilderness survival is making a fire. So, there are a few things you want to take into account when preparing and making a fire. One is your environment. Obviously, right now there's a lot of snow on the ground, so everything's going to be more wet and damp. Next thing you need to know is where to find the wood. Dry wood works best. Green wood doesn't really burn, though if you want to make a signal fire after you already have a fire built, put leaves and other, like pine needles and things on the fire, and it will create a smoke because it evaporates all the water molecules in the leaf, which produces the smoke or the steam. When building a fire, you need tinder. This is actually this is goldenrod. Goldenrod's, as you can tell, it's a very dry, brittle. The next thing you're gonna need are your little sticks like these. When making a fire, it's best to have a lot of surface area in your tinder, just because it breaks it up more and exposes more dry wood to be burnt. And of course, you need your bigger wood like that, and then eventually logs. And so let's get started. First step to making a fire is your ignition source. You can have a basic lighter like this. You can have flint. You can have a flint and magnesium stick, which magnesium is a very combustible element that is produced on almost like a little brick of it, and you shave the shavings of it off and use the flint to ignite it. It's a real easy method for using flint. So right now what we're going to do is crumble this up a little more, because like I said before, you want a lot of surface area. Now this is one of the most difficult parts of making a fire, is right now I have all this tinder burning, and I need to make sure that I keep the flame going. So you can do this by several ways, by either keep placing small sticks on it, which I like to do, as well as put more tinder on it and then another layer of small sticks. Eventually the small sticks will catch. So after we get our kindling burning, then we put more little sticks on like so. And this far in the process, you want to just keep putting small sticks on, but slowly you want to gain the size of the sticks you're putting on. But still, little sticks help too, just because you need to get a good base when you're building your fire. Because if you just put large logs on, it's obviously not going to light. You need to build your fire up from little pieces of wood, like so. And this is one of the most crucial parts in fire building. And we continue to put larger sticks on. At this point in the fire, you really want to stay with the most dry items you have, or dry pieces of wood. Later on, once you get the fire going, it's really not that big a deal if it's soaking wet. But that's after the fire's been going for a while. And as you can see, the flames kind of die down a little bit. So what it needs is oxygen, so you can either open up an opening in this, or you can give it a light blow. and as you can see, the flame got a tiny bit bigger. So we keep putting slightly larger pieces of wood on. And like I said, keep putting smaller pieces in as well. Still very important. One of the biggest or most important things about making a fire too is before you actually start to make your fire, you need to get enough wood. Get enough wood so that that you think you have enough, and then times that by 2. Because usually when you think you have enough, you really don't have enough. Because wood burns quickly. I gather a decent amount just for demonstration purposes, but in a real life survival situation, I would get maybe 2 or 3 times more than what I have right there, just because it minimizes the energy you'll have to spend later on. And when you actually get a fire going, you don't want to be running around, rushing, looking for wood. So as you can see, the fire is actually starting to get pretty big. So we want to upgrade the size of our wood. This actually looks like a chunk of a tree, but as you can see, it's very dry. There's a little bit of moisture in here, but I'm not too worried about it. Should be fine. Another thing you can do is sometimes the stick already burnt in half, or you put a larger stick and it burns in half. You can always take it out of the fire and replace it in. This saves wood, it saves energy, which in wilderness survival, energy and calories are worth everything. So keep putting smaller sticks on. Now the importance of having a fire in a survival situation are, well, 1, warmth, 2, to scare away animals, cooking food, that's a big one, and purifying water, which I'll show you in a little bit. It just, honestly, it's a big mental thing too. It gives you comfort. Like I said, it gives you warmth. I mean, those things really do help you in a survival situation. It gives you light, and that's about it. Hi, I'm Cody Kuzdzal again. This is another wilderness survival technique and tip. One of the most important things in a wilderness survival situation is getting hydrated. Your body needs water to survive, obviously. And being in the wilderness, people often think, hey, look, there's a creek here, I can drink from the creek. Well, that's not very smart, because there's giardia and other microorganisms in the water that will get into your digestive systems and cause diarrhea and vomiting. So, the best thing to do is, if you already have a fire, is boil the water. Obviously, there's snow around us as well. If you need to, I don't suggest eating the snow first, but you could. But before you do that, it's best to take off a few layers. Oh, this snow is pretty. Just take off a few layers, just because sometimes bacteria and other things will sit on the top of the snow if the snow's old, and then you have to clean the snow. So, a lot of times too, no matter where you are in the world, there's always going to be garbage. Now, garbage is garbage, obviously, but it can also be used as many different things. In this case, I'm going to use this as a container to boil water, because not everybody wanders the forest with containers. So I'm going to take my knife. And I have a container. Now, when you get the water from the stream, you want to make sure that you get it from a place where the water is moving very quickly, because sitting water is usually not the best place when the water's moving, it's a lot better because when water sits, the bacteria all bundles up in that specific area. So right where this little waterfall is, I'm going to collect my water. And I'm just going to get enough because this has to go to a boil. So, next thing we do is boil it on the fire.
Cody Kuzdzal back again. Our next step in purifying our water is to boil it.
So I'm just going to place that on top of this little surface that I created. And they say to let your water boil for around 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and let that sit. You want to let your water sit for 20 to 30 minutes. Let the fire kill all the microorganisms and bacteria that I collected from the stream. And in about 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to have safe, drinkable water that you got from nature. Well, now I let it boil for 30 minutes. It's like super hot right now, so I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes just to cool off, and I'll have safe, clean, drinkable water with no giardia or other parasites or microorganisms. So now we're ready to drink our water. Here we go. And it's really not bad. It's kind of warm, but it's really not bad. And it's clean too, so. And in a survival situation, actually warm drinks or warm food is really a big mental, it helps you out mentally just because you're used to having warm food and, you know, like coffee and stuff at home. So it's a good thing, and it's clean water, and it's going to help you stay alive in the wilderness. Hi, Cody Kuzdzal. The next step in survival that I'm going to demonstrate for you today is shelter building, and hopefully I can identify some animal tracks for you. So right now I'm going to simulate a hiker that gets lost while obviously hiking. It's pretty cold out. I got about 12 layers on. Believe me, it's pretty cold. So right now I'm going to try to find a decent spot to make a small camp. But right now, as you can see, it's pretty snowy out. That's ice, so I got to watch out there. It's important in a survival situation to not try anything too risky. I mean, I know on like shows like Man vs. Wild, he does some pretty like crazy things, like jumps off of waterfalls and whatnot. In a real life survival situation, you don't want to jump off waterfalls. You want to stay put, make do with what you have, and survive, not jump off waterfalls. So hopefully I can get a little shelter and get out of this cold and out of this wind. Alright, well, I found a decent place to make a shelter. I walked for a little bit, and so far what I see right now looks pretty good. Now, if you remember my survival tips in the beginning of the video, I said to look for something that Mother Nature provides, so that way I can spend, less energy building my shelter, and this to me looks pretty good. I can already see right now, I can put wood like this. And there's just really a lot I can do with this spot. It's the best I've seen so far. I mean, this is a pretty open forest. It gets a little thicker in there. I kind of want to stay away from that. This looks good to me. The only issue I have is there's ice there, but I mean, it's cold enough. The ice isn't obviously going to melt. And it just looks like a really good spot to start a shelter. There's a lot of wood nearby, obviously, for a fire. If I was going to make a fire, I'd probably make it right here, because there's dry ground right here. It's close to my fire. Not as close as I'd like it to be, but for now, this looks like a decent place to make a shelter. So let's get started. Wood like this is going to help me build my shelter and make it a warm and drier shelter. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just chopping the wood up so it's about the same height as this log that the camera's sitting on. Because I don't want them too big. I mean, I can use the rest for firewood. It's all about innovation and using what you have. It really helps in a survival situation. I actually kind of got to watch myself here, because even in these single-digit temperatures, I mean, right now I honestly feel like I'm sweating a little bit. Not good. You don't want to sweat or overwork yourself in a survival situation, especially not in a winter survival situation, because, you know, once I sit down, my sweat's going to start to freeze and my body temperature is going to plummet. It's going to, you know, get real low. So right now, I'm just looking for shelter wood. I mean, I have quite a lot of little sticks. I'm kind of looking for bigger logs. Nothing too big, but sorry, just thought I saw a track, but it wasn't. There's actually a lot of old animal signs around here. Nothing really that new though. But yeah, I really gotta watch myself. So far the shelter's coming pretty good. I'm just trying to look for these bigger logs here. These actually look like old deer sign. And it's kind of hard to tell on camera, but if you look real close, you can kind of see like a, that's huge, but you know, it almost looks like two little toes that have a point at it, you know, that point forward. So far what I put together was, it's not, you know, I still got a lot of work to do on it, but you know, I found this big tree and I just started lining up these logs against it. So the tree, you know, that's like the roof basically, and finding this tree saved me a lot of energy, and I'm just going to continue to put logs like this. That one. Gotta be careful, I don't want this to fall. But I'm just gonna continue to line sticks on this side. If I wanted to, I could stop and it'd be more like a lean-to. And as you can see, a lean-to, it's got the roof like that, with the sticks leaning up against the side of it. Logs and wood like this are going to work perfect for my shelter. Now you don't want to, you know, overdo it and use all your energy and get like logs 10 times bigger than this that you can't really carry. I mean, you know, this is decent size and it's really going to help me out, but if it was any bigger, nah, I wouldn't take it. Oops, kind of slid on the ice here. But, you know, so far it's come along pretty well. I mean, it's a nice little cozy, you know, in here. I just need a wall here and I'll be all good to go. Alright. Now, I mean, the base of my shelter is basically complete. So right now, I'm going to use these, you know, little sticks and stuff to kind of insulate it a little more, give me a little more warmth. So by that, just pile it on. It doesn't look much. It doesn't look like much, but believe me, it's a lot warmer than just, you know, sitting out in this cold. especially now, because believe me, it's pretty cold.
And as you can see, it's just about done. I mean, I still have a little more work to do on it, but it's looking pretty good right now. Got a pretty good thick wall. Like I said, I leaned it up against this old tree that was knocking down, so the roof was taken care of. I did this part a little bit. I did this part a little weaker just because I'm gonna use my other tools that I brought with me. And again, preparation is a big key to survival. So, I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Alright. So, here I am in my little shelter. It's actually kind of cozy in here. It's not bad. So what I'm gonna do now is use my survival blanket that I brought with me, and again, preparation, to help insulate my body heat in here. So let's get started. Alright, our survival blanket. We got it bundled up pretty good here. So we're just gonna unravel it. Kind of ripped, but just a little bit. It's because it's cold. Take the other glove off here. Make it a little easier. Now, I could either set this on the floor and make kind of like a little bed, which will also help push my body heat back, but the floor is really not that bad. I'm kind of more concerned about the wind, because, you know, winter windshields are pretty brutal. So I'm going to go ahead and unravel this. Wow, they really packed this thing in pretty good. It's already ripping a little bit because it's so cold. Alrighty. Alrighty, now we have our little survival blanket, which it doesn't really look like it, but I mean, it's gonna really help keep a lot of my body heat in here. And as you can see, it's really not a bad little shelter I made. I mean, I saved a lot of calories doing it because the roof was already here. I mean, I really utilized this tree I found, which is a big part of survival. Again, you really want to use what you can find and what you have. Survival is all about creativity and keeping calm. So it's really not a bad thing. You know, I actually have this. I ripped off a little piece from my hands because when I'm sleeping. and this actually does help. I actually do feel the my body heat reflecting back towards my hand. So, I mean, it's a great survival tool. I'm very glad I brought it with me. And again, preparation, it's a big part of survival. So, as you can see, my shelter came out pretty nice, pretty cozy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not the most comfortable thing, but I mean, for right now, in my situation, in this cold, my survival situation, this is really not bad. Hi, Cody Kuzdzal here again. So, over the past video, I taught you some things that I learned. Most importantly, the steps to survival, preparation, building a shelter, fire making, finding food, getting rescue, getting oriented. Those are just some of the major topics that I researched. That was most of the information I found was about those topics. I found those steps the most, that I felt that was the best way to thoroughly go through the information. And like I said, preparation, that's a big thing about survival. Finding food, shelter making, building a fire, all those things, very important. And again, survival starts with preparation, knowledge, and skill, which the skill you get from the knowledge and the preparation. So anyways, I hope you liked it. And again, one more thing is survival. It's all mental attitude. If you go into a survival situation and you're like, "Oh, how am I gonna do this? I can't do this," then you're gonna die. And there's no other way to say it. Just you need to go in with a good attitude. You need to relax. You need to take things step by steps, and you need to think about your survival, your techniques. And you will survive. Thanks for watching.